There are some connections in life that never truly end, no matter how much time passes, no matter how much distance grows, and no matter how hard two people try to move on. You may stop speaking. You may build a new routine. You may tell yourself that chapter is closed. But then, something strange begins to happen. Their energy starts finding its way back into your world. You think of them at random moments that feel almost too deep to be coincidence. Their memory suddenly feels alive again, warm, intense, magnetic. You feel a quiet pull in your heart that you cannot explain, like someone unseen is gently knocking on the door of your soul. And here is what most people never understand. When someone is about to come back into your life, the signs appear long before they do. Your intuition feels it. Your spirit senses movement. Your heart becomes aware of a shift before your eyes can see proof. Maybe lately you've been feeling that. Maybe a certain name keeps returning to your mind. Maybe songs, memories, dreams, and emotions connected to one person keep showing up in ways that feel impossible to ignore. This is not always nostalgia. This is not always imagination. Sometimes, it is life preparing you for a return that will change everything. But listen carefully. Not every person comes back because they love you the right way. Some come back because they finally realize nobody ever touched their heart the way you did. And tonight, we're going to uncover the 5 powerful signs that someone is quietly making their way back to you, and one of those signs may already be happening right now. The very first sign that someone is quietly making their way back into your life is not always something you see with your eyes. It is something you feel deep within yourself. It begins in silence. No message, no sudden phone call, no obvious sign from the outside world. And yet, somewhere inside you, there is movement. Gentle at first, almost impossible to explain, but strong enough to make your heart pause and wonder what is changing. You may notice their name entering your thoughts at random moments, not because you were trying to remember them, but because their presence suddenly feels close again, as if some invisible thread between you has been pulled tight. You could be going about your day, focused on your own life, building yourself, healing, growing, becoming stronger, and then out of nowhere, they cross your mind with unusual intensity. Not like an old memory fading in and out, but like something alive. Warm, vivid, and emotionally charged. And what makes it even stranger is that your heart does not feel heavy when it happens. It feels awakened. It feels alert. It feels like something inside you is quietly whispering, "Pay attention. Something is shifting." This is where many people ignore their deepest wisdom because logic tries to explain away what intuition already understands. But energy often moves before action does. Hearts often reconnect quietly before words are ever spoken. There are moments in life when two people who shared something meaningful remain connected in ways the mind cannot fully understand. Distance may separate them physically, silence may build walls between them, pride may keep them apart for a season. But emotional truth has a strange way of traveling across that silence. Sometimes when they begin thinking deeply about you, when regret begins touching their heart, when memories of you become stronger in their quiet moments, you feel it, not because they reached out, but because their energy did. And for many women, this inner knowing is especially powerful. There is often a deep sensitivity that notices emotional shifts before they become visible reality. You may feel more reflective lately, more emotionally aware, more drawn toward old memories you thought you had made peace with. You may even sense a quiet excitement mixed with calm, not desperation, not anxiety, but a soft inner feeling that says something unfinished is moving closer. And that feeling matters, because life often whispers before it speaks loudly. The soul often senses footsteps before the ears hear a knock at the door. But here is the deeper truth. This sign is not just about them coming back. It is also about who you have become while they were away. Because when someone feels pulled back toward your life, it is often because your energy has changed. You are no longer the same person they left behind. You carry more wisdom now, more grace, more quiet confidence, more depth. There is something captivating about a woman who has learned how to hold her own heart with tenderness and strength. And sometimes, without realizing it, that growth becomes the very thing that pulls someone's heart back toward you like gravity. So if you have been feeling that quiet pull lately, that sudden emotional closeness, that strange sense that someone's energy is circling your world again, do not rush to label it. Simply notice it. Sometimes the first sign of a return is not a text message appearing on your screen. It is a feeling appearing in your soul long before they ever find the courage to reach out. The second sign that someone is slowly finding their way back into your life often appears in the most unexpected, almost mysterious ways. It begins quietly, so quietly that at first you may brush it off as coincidence. But then it keeps happening. Their name suddenly comes up in conversation when nobody has mentioned them in a long time. You hear a song that instantly brings them rushing back into your heart. You see a place, a quote, a scent, a memory, or even a small detail connected to them, and it happens again and again, almost like life keeps gently placing reminders of that person in front of you. And after a while, you begin asking yourself a question you cannot ignore. Why do they keep showing up everywhere? Here is what is fascinating about human connection. When something meaningful is unfinished, life has a strange way of awakening your awareness before it reveals what is coming next. It places emotional breadcrumbs in your path, small moments that seem ordinary on the surface, but feel deeply personal inside your soul. Suddenly, what was once quiet becomes impossible to ignore. It feels as though their presence is circling your world without them physically being there. And what makes this even more powerful is that it often happens when you are not chasing, not longing, not desperately holding on, but when you are focused on yourself, growing, healing, and stepping deeper into your own light. That is when energy shifts most strongly. There is something undeniably magnetic about a woman who begins pouring love back into herself, a woman who carries softness without weakness, confidence without arrogance, mystery without games, and warmth without losing her standards. That kind of energy creates a quiet pull people remember long after they leave. It stays in the mind, it lingers in the heart, and sometimes while you are becoming your strongest self, the person who once walked away begins feeling the absence of what they lost more deeply than ever before. They begin noticing reminders of you in their own life too. Your laugh in someone else's smile, your warmth in moments that now feel cold, your memory in the spaces they once took for granted. And as their heart turns back toward what was real, life begins reflecting that shift into your world through signs you can feel. Maybe you keep dreaming about them. Maybe old messages cross your mind. Maybe memories return not with pain, but with unusual clarity, almost sweet, almost alive, almost present. These moments can feel strangely intimate, like an invisible conversation happening somewhere beyond words. But here is the deeper lesson. These reminders are not meant to make you lose yourself in fantasy. They are meant to make you aware, to slow down, to notice, to ask whether this connection is truly aligned with who you are becoming. Because not every return is meant to restart an old chapter exactly as it was. Some returns happen because both hearts have changed. Some happen to bring closure. Some happen to offer a deeper love built on maturity, truth, and understanding. And some happen simply to remind you how unforgettable your presence truly was. So if lately life keeps placing little reminders of someone in your path, their name, their memory, their energy, their echo, do not ignore what your heart quietly notices. Sometimes, before a person physically returns, their presence begins softly knocking on the door of your awareness, preparing your soul for what may soon walk back into your life. The third sign that someone may be quietly making their way back into your life is something you may never see directly, but its weight is real and its pull can be powerful. They begin deeply regretting what they lost when they let you go. At first, life may have distracted them, pride may have convinced them they made the right choice, ego may have whispered that moving on would be easy, that what they had with you could be replaced, that your presence was something ordinary they could find again in someone else. But time has a way of humbling people. Silence has a way of making truth louder. Distance has a way of removing illusions and revealing what was truly valuable. And somewhere in their quiet moments, perhaps late at night, perhaps in the middle of a crowded room that still somehow feels empty, reality begins touching their heart. They begin remembering you, not just in pieces, but in depth. They remember the way your presence made ordinary moments feel meaningful. They remember the warmth in your energy, the softness in your spirit, the spark in your voice, the quiet strength you carried, and the rare way you understood them without needing endless explanation. Suddenly, what once felt familiar begins feeling unforgettable, and what they once took for granted begins looking like something they may never find again. That realization can hit like a storm inside a person's soul, because one of life's hardest truths is realizing too late that what you were searching for in the world was already standing in front of you. And when that truth sinks in, regret begins growing roots in the heart. They start comparing every connection to what they had with you, and no matter how much they try to move forward, something keeps feeling missing. Other conversations feel shallow. Other connections feel forced. Other smiles feel temporary, because real connection leaves a mark, not just on memory, but on the heart's deepest understanding of what genuine love, comfort, and emotional safety feel like. And here is where it becomes even more powerful. Regret often awakens when they begin seeing who you have become without them. When they notice your glow has grown brighter, your confidence deeper, your peace stronger, and your heart more grounded, something shifts inside them. They realize you did not break, you bloomed. You did not spend your life waiting. You spent your life becoming. And there is something intensely magnetic about a woman who rises from pain with grace, who carries softness with strength, who knows her worth without needing to announce it. That kind of presence stays with people long after they walk away. It lingers. It haunts quietly. It becomes the standard against which every other connection is measured. And in that quiet comparison, regret grows heavier. But here is what matters most. Their regret is not your responsibility to heal. Their realization is not your burden to carry. Sometimes life allows people to feel the weight of what they lost, because that is how growth begins. That is how hearts awaken. That is how truth becomes impossible to ignore. So if someone from your past begins circling back, understand this: they may not be returning because time simply passed. They may be returning because time taught them a painful lesson. That losing you was not a small mistake, but the loss of something rare, beautiful, and deeply unforgettable. The fourth sign that someone may be finding their way back into your life has very little to do with what they are doing, and everything to do with who you have become. Because sometimes, the reason a person suddenly feels pulled back toward you is not simply because they miss you. It is because they can sense, see, or feel that you are no longer the same woman they once knew. Life has changed you. Pain has refined you. Silence has taught you. Heartbreak has deepened you. And what has emerged from that journey is not someone weaker from what she has been through, but someone wiser, calmer, more grounded, and quietly powerful in a way that cannot be ignored. There is now a softness in you that comes from understanding life, not innocence. There is a confidence in you that does not beg for attention because it no longer needs validation to know its worth. There is a peace in your spirit that comes from surviving moments you once thought would break you and choosing to rise anyway with grace in your heart and strength in your soul. And that kind of transformation is deeply magnetic. It is the kind of energy that turns heads without trying, that stays in people's minds long after a conversation ends, that makes someone from your past stop and wonder how they ever walked away from something so rare. What makes feminine strength so captivating is that it does not have to be loud to be powerful. It lives in quiet confidence. It lives in the way you carry yourself with calm elegance, in the way you protect your heart without becoming cold, in the way your kindness remains soft but your boundaries become clear. There is something unforgettable about a woman who knows how to love deeply, but has also learned she will never again lose herself trying to be enough for someone who could not see her value. And when that shift happens inside you, the entire energy around you changes. You begin attracting differently. You begin speaking differently. You begin moving through life with a quiet glow that comes from self-respect, healing, and inner peace. People feel it, even if they cannot explain it. And the person who once knew you before this transformation feels it most of all. Suddenly, they are no longer remembering the version of you they left behind. They are seeing the woman you have become, and that realization can awaken a powerful pull inside them. Because growth creates mystery, healing creates beauty, confidence creates attraction, and becoming whole on your own creates a kind of presence that is impossible to replace. But here is the deeper truth. This transformation did not happen for them. It happened for you. You became stronger because life asked you to rise. You became wiser because pain taught you what love should never cost. You became more radiant because you stopped pouring all your light into people who only admired your glow without valuing its warmth. Now you shine from within, and that inner light has a quiet, captivating power. So if someone from your past begins finding their way back, understand this: they may not only be returning because they miss who you were, they may be returning because they are deeply drawn to who you have become. And sometimes the most irresistible thing in the world is not beauty, not charm, not attention. It is a woman who has healed, found her worth, and carries herself like she knows she is rare. The fifth and perhaps most important sign is not simply that this person comes back into your life. It is what their return reveals about you. Because when someone from your past suddenly reappears, life is rarely just offering you a reunion. More often, it is presenting you with a quiet test of your growth, your wisdom, and the standards you now hold for your heart. This is the moment where many people confuse familiar feelings with meaningful change. A returning voice can awaken old emotions. A simple message can stir memories you thought were buried. A familiar smile can make your heart race in ways that feel exciting, comforting, and deeply intimate all at once. But emotion alone is never enough reason to open the door again. Attraction can feel powerful, nostalgia can feel beautiful, history can feel sacred, yet none of those things automatically mean this connection is healthy, ready, or worthy of your peace. That is why their return becomes a test, not of whether they still desire you, but of whether you now value yourself enough to ask the deeper questions your old self was too afraid to ask. Has this person truly changed? Have they learned what it means to love with honesty, consistency, and emotional maturity? Have they taken responsibility for the pain they caused? Or are they simply returning because loneliness makes the past look sweeter than the present? Have they come back with clear intention, or are they only seeking temporary comfort from the warmth they once walked away from? These are the questions that matter, because not everyone who returns is coming back with a healed heart. Some return because they miss your energy. Some return because they realize nobody else made them feel the way you did. Some return because your quiet glow became impossible to forget. But missing you and deserving you are two very different things. Wanting access to your heart is not the same as being worthy of the love it holds. And this is where your growth becomes your greatest power. The woman you are now is not the woman you once were. You no longer confuse attention with devotion. You no longer mistake charming words for genuine effort. You no longer hand your heart to someone simply because they suddenly realize your value after losing you. Now you watch actions. You feel consistency. You listen to your intuition. You choose peace over emotional chaos, clarity over confusion, and respect over empty promises. That is real power. There is something deeply captivating about a woman who can feel love yet still choose wisdom. A woman who can welcome honesty yet refuse half-hearted intentions. A woman who knows that her softness is precious and therefore will only offer it where it is protected, valued, and returned with equal depth. So if someone from your past is coming back, remember this: their return is not automatically your destiny. It is simply an invitation to choose again, but this time with open eyes, a wiser heart, and stronger boundaries. Sometimes the blessing is in rebuilding something beautiful with someone who truly changed, and sometimes the blessing is realizing that you have grown so much, you no longer desire what once had the power to break you. Either way, you do not lose, because now you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are the one doing the choosing, and that changes everything. So if this message found you at the exact moment your heart needed to hear it, take that as your sign to slow down and truly listen to what life may be quietly showing you. Maybe someone from your past has been appearing in your thoughts more often than usual. Maybe memories that once felt distant suddenly feel alive again. Maybe there is a strange pull in your spirit, soft, mysterious, impossible to explain, as though something unfinished is gently moving back toward your life. And if that is what you have been feeling, do not ignore your inner voice. Notice it. Reflect on it. But most importantly, remember your worth while you do. Because if someone is truly meant to return, they will not come back with confusion, mixed signals, or empty promises. They will return with clarity. They will return with intention. They will return ready to meet the version of you that has grown stronger, wiser, and more radiant through everything you have endured. Never shrink your standards just because something familiar knocks at your door. Never trade your peace for temporary excitement. The right return will not disturb your soul. It will honor it, protect it, and deepen it. And until that moment comes, keep becoming the woman who glows from within, who carries grace in her heart, confidence in her walk, and quiet power in her presence. Because that kind of woman is unforgettable. If this message touched something deep inside you, write in the comments, "What is meant for me will find me." And if you believe in signs, growth, and the quiet power of becoming your best self, subscribe now, because sometimes the message that changes your life arrives exactly when your soul is finally ready to receive it.